I hear that they want to cut those student loans give them as tax cuts to their billionaire friends.
Make no mistake, this is an all-out assault on public education.
I think that this administration just doesn't like children.
Your boos mean nothing. I've seen what makes you cheer.
Really grateful to the secretary that she joined us. Thank you. She's here. Perhaps I should give her the podium.
Good morning, pineapples. It's looking very good and very nice. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Glad and thankful to have you here. You're listening to the show that the administrative state wishes didn't have a volume knob. Look around you. The neutral expert, that mythical creature that the Democrats have been worshiping for a century, is finally being dragged out into the light. And he's blinking. Because the truth is blinding. We start with a bombshell this morning. Got something in my eye. Within the last 12 hours, Dan Bongino, the man who went from the airwaves to the inner sanctum of the FBI, has announced that he's hanging it up. He says he's going back to his show, which means I lose all of my relaxium McGroin and itchy McGroin people. There goes my audience. What audience? Just kidding. All 60 people here on Rumble are heroes. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So Dan is coming back to Rumble. It's better here than it is at the FBI. You don't quit the number 2 spot at the Bureau, though, just for a better microphone, unless there's a war going on behind the scenes. So we're digging into the reports of a massive blow-up between Bongino and Attorney General Pam Bondi over the one thing they promised to give us, the Epstein files. So the question, is Bongino being sidelined, or is he passing the torch to a legal brawler like Andrew Bailey from Missouri? Because the exposure phase is over and the prosecution phase has begun. So, but that's just the start. While the media cries about democracy, Russ Vought is over at the OMB, Office of Management and Budget, actually doing the work. He just announced the breakup of the National Center for Atmospheric Research. So they're taking a sledgehammer to the global mothership of climate alarmism in Boulder, Colorado. So we're going to separate weather facts from political fiction, and the left is losing their mind over this because of their secular religion just losing their taxpayer-funded cathedral. So reasons to smile. Don't I always give you reasons to smile? Why does this matter to you? Because while these experts were busy modeling the weather for the year 2100 and fighting over redaction bars in D.C., your life got more expensive. Grocery prices are still 28% higher than they were 5 years ago. Your flights are being grounded because the FAA still can't figure out a staffing schedule. The experts are failing you at the checkout line and at the boarding gate, but they're still trying to tell you how to live. So, and finally, an investigative report that you'll only hear here. Gabriella Hoffman joins us at the end of the show today. So she's uncovered this Biden-era holdover plot to hand over 400,000 acres of Georgia land, the Okefenokee Swamp, to UNESCO. So, yeah, that's right. The United Nations wants to build a buffer zone in your backyard. We're going to tell you why local Georgians are saying hell no to Paris-based bureaucrats. So we've got a packed 2 hours today. If you want to see the documents that the FBI is hiding, if you want to know why the climate cult is on the run, and you want to support a show that doesn't answer to the United Nations, stay tuned. So grab your Founding Flavors coffee. Today we're drinking Jeffersonian Java. It's delicious. Unlock the bonus content. If today is your first time watching the Wake Up America show, we have 3 phases of bonus content. Phase 1, if we raise $100, either in Rumble Rants made directly through the show or in purchases made at our Liberty Shop, then $100 will unlock our phase 1 of the bonus content. We have made a recreation of the Bondi. It's Bondi Beach in Australia, and Pam Bondi in the United States as Attorney General. It's very confusing. So there'll be some Bondi and there'll be Bondi. When I say Bondi, I'm talking about Pam Bondi. When I say Bondi, I'm talking about the beach situation. Okay. So if we raise $100, we produced a mini documentary about why we need guns more than ever, especially at our religious celebrations. And we produced a mini documentary about that and recreated Bondi Beach in Lego miniatures. So if you want to see that mini documentary, you have to unlock it. So keep those Rumble Rant donations rolling. Or my suggestion, guys, is that you guys check out our forlibertyshop.com website. I love watching the map in the back to see where people pop up. Head on over to forlibertyshop.com during this show. Every purchase that you make during the live show helps to unlock that bonus content. So it doesn't take very much for us to unlock it when we have a few purchases. So head on over there. $150 unlocks the Great Grift Off, which is a game show where we all get to play and compete against each other at home for prizes, which is way fun. And $200 gets you a Christmas carol sung by me. There we go. So if you're just joining us now, you picked a hell of a day to watch the Wake Up America show. So we're living through a period that I'm calling the Great Unbinding. So for nearly a century, we have been told that we must be ruled by a priestly class of what they call neutral experts. Right? These are men in lab coats, bureaucrats with 14-syllable titles, and agencies that they love to call independent. Thank you, Entropy Nomad. Grateful, sir. And welcome, Melly B. And Cat Dad. So agencies that are independent, this is just DC speak for unaccountable to the peasants who actually pay the bills to these, right? So, well, that binding that we have had, this binding agreement that we would be ruled by experts for the last 100 years is starting to unbind. But before we get to the wrecking ball being swung at the climate cult, we have to talk about last night. Did you guys see the president? So Trump was in rare form in Florida last night, and the media is, of course, they're hyperventilating this morning. Trump spent a good 20 minutes talking about our neighbors to the south, specifically Venezuela. Now, the blue checks on X are already screaming, war, it's going to be war, we're going to have a war, it's going to be a war. But if you actually listen to the man, right, they were like, oh, he's going to drop the 82nd Airborne into Caracas. If you actually listened to the president, right, and he's talking about leverage. He's talking about the Monroe Doctrine with a 2025 upgrade. He's basically told the Maduro regime the sanctuary city for cartels is closed for business. So it was the ultimate art of the deal. He rattles the cage, the experts at the State Department faint, and suddenly the flow of bad actors at the border starts to dry up because they realize there's a new sheriff who doesn't care about the international community's feelings, who doesn't care about what the Paris Climate Accord of signees think about our country. Bondi, isn't that one of those miniature Japanese trees? I think that's bonsai. I think that's bonsai. Amy J.E.'s missed it. She was lucky. She had her parents in for a visit. So it was the ultimate art of the deal last night, and it served a purpose. It reminded the world that America is a sovereign nation. We are not a global ATM or a doormat. Right? But while everyone was looking at Venezuela, the real war, the one that actually determines whether or not you can afford to heat your home or drive to work, is happening in Boulder, Colorado. So yesterday, OMB Director Russ Vought, he's quickly becoming one of my favorite people in the administration. He's kind of like the MVP of the administrative state's funeral, announced that the National Science Foundation is officially breaking up the National Center for Atmospheric Research, or NCAR. Now, if you listen to the legacy media this morning, you would think that Vought walked in and just took a hammer and started smashing telescopes and throwing over tables, right? They're calling it a dark age for science. I mean, all kinds of hysteria. But if you look at the facts on this show, of course, we don't do hysteria. What do we do on the Wake Up America show? We do facts, right? And a little gossip. We'll get to the gossip later. The NCAR, this is kind of the global mothership of climate alarmism, right? This is the place that produces those terrifying hockey stick models that tell you the oceans are going to swallow your house in Jefferson City by next Thursday, unless you start eating bugs and driving a golf cart. For years, NCR has received hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars to essentially run a propaganda mill. So Russ Vaught's memo was a masterpiece of clarity, and I highly recommend you read it if you're into that kind of thing. He didn't say that we're stopping weather research. We need to know if it's going to rain in Missouri or if a hurricane's going to hit Florida, right? That is a utility. But what he did do was he separated the science from the scams. He's moving the vital weather forecasting functions, the stuff that actually helps farmers and pilots, right, to other agencies. But the climate modeling wing, right, the one that spends its time trying to figure out how to tax your farts, right, that is being defunded and dismantled. And God bless it. Where else? Are you going to hear this on any other show this morning? Is anybody else going to be talking about this, or are they going to be talking about some other stupid shit? They're going to be talking about stuff that doesn't really matter. This is big stuff that's happening. These are the wins for liberty that I voted for. I voted for this. Right? Think about the irony here in this, right? So these are the same experts. They couldn't predict the inflation of 2022. They couldn't predict the chaos of withdrawal from Afghanistan. And they can't even tell you if it'll really be sunny for 3 days from now, right? But they want us to restructure the entire global economy based on what their computer models say the temperature will be in the year 2100. That is not science. That is a secular religion. And the high priests of this secular taxpayer-funded religion just lost their cathedral. I was reading a report from the Wall Street Journal this morning. So they're already interviewing these devastated scientists in Boulder. One of them said, without NCAR, we won't have the data to drive global policy. Oh, no. No. They won't have the data to tell everyone in the world what to do. They won't have the data for telling us all what to do. They won't have the data to drive global policy. Those aren't scientists. They're lobbyists with degrees. Right? Science is about the pursuit of truth through falsifiable data. Policy is about power. When you mix the two, you don't get science-based policy. You get policy-based science. You get a system where the conclusion is written before the experiment even starts. And here's the kicker. So Russell Vought, he's selling off the assets. The NSF is looking to offload the specialized research aircraft and the supercomputers that were used for these doomsday models. You know what I say? I say, put them on the Facebook marketplace. Put them on eBay. Maybe Bill Gates can buy them to help block out the sun, right? Since he's so worried about it. And, this kind of brings us back to the core principle of the show. What do I do this for God's sakes? Do I get up just so that I can try and sell you some Founding Flavors coffee? Well, that might be part of it, right? But there's a core principle to this show. Thomas Jefferson's standard for government. Jefferson once said, I am for a government rigorously frugal and simple. He knew that when you build a massive permanent bureaucracy, it inevitably becomes a tool of the state to control the people. Right? NCAR wasn't designed to help you. It was designed to justify the expansion of the EPA, the Department of Energy, and the international climate treaties that ship our jobs to China while we pay for this privilege. Right? By breaking up this group, the NCAR, the Trump administration is doing something revolutionary. They are restoring the executive to the executive branch. Right? They're saying that just because you have a PhD doesn't mean that you get a permanent, unfireable seat at the table to dictate how Americans live. Right? And this is why this matters to you. When they stop spending billions on climate models, they stop having the data to justify the regulations that make your electricity bills look like a car payment. Right? This is a direct win for your wallet. So while the left mourns the loss of the Boulder playground, I want you to celebrate, because you know what? Despite all the gloom and doom, predictions of disaster, predictions of war with Venezuela, we libertarians, we are winning. We're just never happy about it. We just can't find a reason to be happy. Reasons to be happy. Reasons to live. Welcome to the Wake Up America show, where we find a silver lining in those climate clouds. I'm Austin Peterson. If today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, and you've been looking for a great place to hang out in the morning that is positive, optimistic, that will start your day the right way, and that will find those silver linings in those seeded clouds. Well, Melly B, who just started following us, you're in the right place. Welcome, Melly. We're glad to have you here today. We love seeing new names and faces, and we'd love to have you drop a comment in the chat if you haven't already. I might have missed it. We'd be grateful to have you come back and join us Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's the Wake Up America show schedule. So while the left is kind of mourning the death of their Boulder playground, I want you to celebrate, guys. This is a reason to be happy, reason to drink another a cup of eggnog, even if Martha Stewart doesn't want you to drink two. Right? The great unbinding is underway. We're taking scissors to the red tape, and we're starting with the people who think that they can control the weather. Now, if you're enjoying the fact that these alarmists are on the run, you got to fuel up. Head to forlibertyshop.com, grab the Founding Flavors coffee. It's roasted by people who believe in the scientific method, not the political one. We're glad and grateful to have all of our new friends joining us, people like Melly B, and of course, all of our regular friends like Entropy Nomad, who's become a significant contributor to the Wake Up America show. Dude, you rock. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being a friend. Gather around the world and back again. Thank you for being a friend. Boom, 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 boom. Who can name the show? Who can name it first? And who can win my undying respect? Thank you for being a friend. Amy J.E. says, I was trying to explain this exact thing on X this morning, trying to tell that U.S. healthcare is so expensive due to government meddling. I'm sure he was like, no, the government makes things cheaper. Some crap in my eye. We're fueled this morning by Founding Flavors coffee. It's not just any coffee. It's not regular coffee. It's delicious coffee. Are you the type of person who loves really good coffee? Are you the type of person, are you kind of spoiled? Are you drinking coffee from people that hate you? Because Starbucks is giving money to their employees to send them to other states to have abortions. I'm not kidding. At Founding Flavors Coffee, when you buy our coffee, you're supporting the ideas that you believe in, that you care about. If you've never tried it before, I'm here to tell you it's the best. You will love it. And you know how I know? Because I'm put my own money on the line for it. My life, my career, my fortune, my Founding Flavors, my sacred honor. At Founding Flavors Coffee is the best. And if you don't like it, I will buy it back from you. If you've never bought it before and you don't know which one to try, when you go to the Founding Flavors Coffee page, we've got a bundle available for you, which you can try the top 3 that I recommend, and it has a discount. Choose ground or whole bean between these top 3, the top 3 favorite coffees. These are my favorite: Jefferson and Java, Electric Elixir, and Thomas's Painkiller. And I know I sound just like a salesman here, but if there's anybody in the chat who might be drinking it this morning or who's had it before and you can recommend it, that's the best recommendation. People don't believe me because they're like, he's just trying to sell us something. But they'll believe you in the chat if you let people know which coffees you really like and which you recommend. I'd be very grateful and glad for it. And hopefully we can sell an AP for Liberty coffee bundle this morning. Steffi says, we had to get a new Keurig because we make coffee so much. We put our founding fathers in reusable K-cups. Yeah, when I don't want to drink a whole pot. Thank you, Stephanie. That's Steffi for Liberty chick over there. That's my wife. And make sure you say hello to her. She's a smoking hot redheaded libertarian chick, and we love her very much. All right. So, I was looking through the news this morning and it hit me, the expert class is kind of like a bad roommate who hasn't paid rent in 3 years, eats all your food, and then has the audacity to tell you that you're the one making the mess, right? We started this show and we mentioned last night a little bit about Trump and Venezuela and Trump's leverage. And we're going to talk about that too in just a few minutes. We talked about Russ Vought taking a chainsaw to the climate alarmists at the NCAR in Boulder, but I want to go deeper. I want to talk about why the American people have finally revoked the infallibility license from the administrative state. Look at what's happening in New York City right now. A new audit just dropped. It was released. This was in the last 24 hours from the comptroller, Brad Lander. It turns out that the experts at the Department of Education have been running a school bus system built on software from 1994, okay, before the internet really started to have mainstream adoption. This is software that hasn't been supported by a tech company since 2015. So 10 years ago, the software stopped being supported. And because of this expert management, the city has failed to collect $42.6 million in penalties from vendors who didn't even bother to turn on the GPS or show up for their routes. All right, so parents are missing work, kids are stranded, and $42 million of taxpayer dollars evaporated into the ether of bureaucratic apathy. They couldn't be bothered to check. They couldn't be bothered to update the software or to find someone who could update the software or just literally just buy new software. At $42 million that has been lost, they could have used that to update the software. They could have used half of that. I bet you I could have done it with $1 million stinking dollars. If you had given me $1 million, I could have found a way to update that software. And I don't even write software. I could have vibe coded it. But the experts would tell you, if you tried suggesting that we should privatize all of this, right, or maybe give parents a voucher to drive their own kids or something, the experts would tell you you're destroying public trust, right? It's not just an incompetence like that, right? There's also outright fraud. Right, the DOJ just indicted a former senior manager at a major Virginia government contractor for cybersecurity fraud. So this individual allegedly spent years lying to 6 different federal agencies, including the Army, claiming that their cloud platform was, quote, secure and met DoD standards. They weren't just wrong. They were actually allegedly obstructing audits and concealing security flaws while collecting lucrative taxpayer contracts. These are the security experts that were told we should trust these people with our national security secrets. They can't secure a cloud server, but they want to secure your digital identity. I don't think so. We need to hire Drew Van Runkle. Where's Drew at? This is why the Trump administration is doing these, what I call this great spring cleaning. So the Wikipedia death watch for federal agencies is growing by the hours. The EPA, union contracts canceled. And the argument is to prevent irreparable harm to national security. God bless Donald Trump. Thank you. The VA, union contracts terminated. The FBI, Bongino's out. Bailey's in. Street fighters being replaced by executioners. The left is screaming, of course, that this is authoritarianism. Governor Gavin Newsom in California is having a meltdown. He put out a statement saying that Trump is failing where failure is not an option because the federal government chose not to renew a $300,000 grant for some seismic sensors in Alaska, right? Gavin, buddy, your state is literally on fire and people are fleeing to Texas because of your expert taxes. Maybe don't lecture us on federal readiness when you can't keep the lights on in Los Angeles. And this brings us to the core philosophical fight of 2025. This is a story and a topic that I have been beating to death, and I will continue to beat until we have finally achieved final victory. But final victory is in our sights. The unitary executive. For decades, these experts have used the concept of independent agencies as a shield. They claimed that because they were scientists or economists, they shouldn't have to answer to the president. And by extension, of course, they shouldn't have to answer to you, to us, to we the people. But as James Madison wrote in Federalist number 51, a dependence on the people is no doubt the primary control on the government. There is no such thing as a neutral expert when that expert is spending public money. Every decision that they make is a political decision because it involves the allocation of your resources and the restriction of your liberty. When Russ Vought breaks up NCAR, this Boulder, Colorado group, he's not attacking science. He's restoring the proper constitutional order. He's saying if you want to spend $1 billion of the people's money to tell them that the world is ending, you better be prepared to answer to the person that the people actually voted for. Right? And let's look at the track record here. I have pulled for you a little list. Right? Let's look at the track record of these, quote, protected experts, okay? They told us the lab leak was a conspiracy theory. It wasn't. They told us that inflation was transitory. It's been a nightmare. They told us the Epstein files would be harmful to disclose. Harmful to whom exactly? Right? The experts didn't protect us. They protected themselves. They built a fortress of red tape and acronyms, the NCAR, the NOAA, the DOE, the FBI, and they hid behind it while the American middle class got hollowed out. So the great unbinding is here. The fortress is being dismantled, and it's gonna be messy. There's gonna be staffing chaos at the EPA, right? There's gonna be dysfunction at the Department of Education as Linda McMahon prepares to turn off the lights over there. God bless Linda McMahon. Best damn education secretary. So, but you know where the dysfunction, what they call dysfunction in DC, you know what I call it? It's freedom everywhere else. So when you see the news today, guys, don't listen to the morning songs of the bureaucrats. Listen to the sound of chains breaking. Pop, pop. We're going to take a quick little break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about the man who is supposed to be the expert-in-chief of the FBI, Dan Bongino, and why his departure is the first shot in a much bigger war over the truth. Don't go away. We'll be right back. We haven't unlocked the bonus content yet, but we're getting closer and closer. Keep pushing. We're going to do it. We'll be right back on the Wake Up America show. What is this? You guys drinking eggnog over there? Effing noggers. We'll be right back on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Imagine bringing George Washington back to life. Just to explain that in 2025, men can get pregnant, waving an American flag might offend someone, and our government is $34 trillion in debt. But that's not all, George. We have drag queen story hour for toddlers. Pronouns are mandatory. And Harvard can't define woman. Oh. And we send billions to Ukraine but can't fix potholes in Ohio. Just normal modern empire stuff. I'm sure he'd be totally cool with it. Right after he finishes reloading. He didn't cross the Delaware for this nonsense, but you can carry on the fight with gear that would have made King George cry. Shop bold, shop free, shop for libertyshop.com. Picture this. It's 1776. Thomas Jefferson is hunched over his desk at Monticello, ink-stained fingers, writing the most radical document in human history. Do you really think he was sipping Starbucks? No. He was drinking something bold, something black, something brewed strong enough to fuel a revolution. That's the spirit behind Founding Flavors, our signature line of liberty-fueled coffee. No soy froth, no climate guilt, no corporate slogans. Just real coffee, inspired by the men who wrote freedom into existence. Every cup is a quiet protest. Against mediocrity, against tyranny, against bad coffee. So this morning, skip the globalist brew. Grab something worthy of a free man's sunrise. Founding Flavors. Now brewing at forlibertyshop.com. Legend has it, back in 1773, a band of angry, overtaxed patriots stormed a British ship, found the king's favorite tea, and said, "This would taste better without the tyranny." Then they tossed it overboard. Fast forward to today. That revolutionary spirit lives on in Boston Harbor Black, the boldest brew in the 4 Libert tea lineup. It's dark, it's smooth, it's unapologetically American, just like the folks who drink it. Whether you're sweetening it up on the front porch or drinking it straight like a Minuteman before battle, this isn't tea for royalty, it's tea for rebels. No fake flavors, no corporate slogans, just a cold glass of Don't Tread on Me in liquid form.
So skip the woke iced tea aisle and stock up on Boston Harbor Black at 4libertyshop.com. Because when the heat's rising, the least you can do is drink like a patriot. Look, not all t-shirts are created equal. Some just sit there. Others start conversations. The ones at 4libertyshop.com, they raise eyebrows, win arguments, and occasionally get you banned from PTA meetings. Whether you're repping freedom, mocking tyrants, or just making the left squirm, we've got the gear that says what you're thinking. Loud, proud, unapologetic. Grab yours today at 4libertyshop.com because your shirt should speak louder than your neighbor's bumper sticker. When the Founding Fathers dreamed of liberty, they forgot one thing: coffee. Introducing Founding Flavors Coffee, the brew that built America, and the brew that's fueling a new revolution, one kitchen at a time. Small batch roasted, Patriot approved, and disappearing faster than a redcoat at Yorktown. Don't get left behind, soldier. Real patriots are starting their mornings with Founding Flavors, and trust us, freedom tastes better with a fresh cup in your hand. Stop drinking those tyrant brews who take your money and don't support your values. Stocks are limited, demand is booming, and your morning deserves a taste of liberty. Order now at 4libertyshop.com before the next shipment gets signed, sealed, and sold out. Founding Flavors Coffee, the official brew of morning rebellions everywhere. Get yours at 4libertyshop.com.
I just don't have a ton of confidence in the FBI or the men who run it. And I'm not saying that out of ignorance at all.
That's a scary part, too.
I'm not alleging anything. I'm just saying I think it's really important that we have that.
Yeah, and also,
and
I never wanted to think
Twitter
any of this.
Shit, like leaders of the FBI are on Twitter? Like, what?
Welcome back to Wake Up America. I'm Austin Peterson. Click the like button if you haven't already. I'm grateful and glad to have everyone who's tuning in live, watching us this morning. Even during the holiday season, I hope that you're enjoying all of the content that we are producing over here on the Wake Up America show. Just an FYI, if you're a regular viewer and listener and you're curious about the holiday schedule and you haven't heard just yet, so Christmas Eve and Christmas, we are off, quite obviously. Day after Christmas, we will be on. Week after that, we're out. Stephanie and I are taking a week vacation. You know us. We never take time off. Do you ever turn on the Wake Up America show during the year and it's just like not on? No, we're always on. So we're going to take a break. And we'll be out from the 29th to the 2nd. So the final week of the year, we'll be back that first full week of January, just an FYI. So if you were on social media yesterday afternoon, you probably saw the post that launched 1,000 conspiracy theories, and maybe there are a few sighs of relief in the hallways of the Hoover building. So Dan Bongino is leaving the FBI. He put out a statement yesterday on X around 4:30 p.m. He's stepping down in January. He thanked President Trump. He thanked AG Pam Bondi. He thanked Director Kash Patel. And then he did something very Bongino. He thanked you. He thanked the American people for the privilege to serve, right? Now, the media, and these are the last people who spent the last 8 months. These are people who spent, months, maybe years, calling him a conspiracy theorist, right? They're already writing his political obituary. They're saying he failed. They're saying he couldn't handle the tedious nature of government work. But, we know better. Dan Bongino didn't go to the FBI to file paperwork. He went in to be a wrecking ball. And when you swing a wrecking ball, you eventually run out of walls to smash, or you hit a support beam that the people who are in charge aren't ready to let go of yet. So the research is coming out now, and it confirms what I've been hearing and reading since July, that support beam that Dan Bongino might have run headlong, smacked right into, was Pam Bondi. There was a meeting at the White House, apparently, a heated exchange between Bongino and Bondi, and the topic was over Jeffrey Epstein. So Bongino, he built his career on this promise of transparency. He told his audience for years that he wanted to, quote, release the list. But in July, Bondi's DOJ put out a memo saying no further disclosure was warranted. They claimed that there was no evidence to predicate investigations against uncharged third parties. And these reports say that Bongino didn't just disagree. Apparently he went nuclear. And you know what? Good for him. Give it up for Dan. I like Dan. I like Dan a lot, honestly. Call me a bad libertarian. I don't care. I've always liked Dan Bongino. I've always thought that he was a fighter. And frankly, if he's running into brick walls over there at the FBI, I don't necessarily blame him. You know, he was deputy director, not director, remember. He reportedly told White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles that Bondi had completely whiffed on the files. He felt that the DOJ was handing the public binders full of nothingness while the real monsters were still hiding behind redaction bars. God bless Dan Bongino. This sounds like the real poop here, right? He went silent after that, right? He's always been karate man, right? This is Street Fighter, right? But it appears that even he realized that with a badge and a number 2 spot at the bureau, that the system has a way of closing ranks when the names get too big. So now I want to address something for the base, because I know some of you were frustrated with Dan. You saw him go on Sean Hannity's show and walk back some of his past theories. I'll admit I was disappointed, right? You heard him say, I've seen the whole file. Epstein killed himself. You heard him say he was paid for his opinions in the past, but paid for facts now. I don't think that this was a betrayal, right? This was a man realizing that the deep state, it's more than just a group of people. It's a process. But when you're an outsider, you see the smoke and you call it a fire. But when you're the deputy director, you have to find the source, the fire. You have to find the match, right? Bongino spent 8 months digging through the basements of the FBI. He helped Kash Patel purge the career agents who had weaponized the Bureau against people like you. He oversaw the arrest of the DC pipe bomber suspect earlier this month, and that was a case that he was obsessed with. Let's give it up for Dan for that. Give it up for Dan Bongino for that. Now, Kash Patel said yesterday that Dan not only completed his mission, he far exceeded it. Maybe the mission wasn't to release every file. Maybe the mission was to prove that the Bureau can be led by someone who actually somewhat likes the Constitution. Matt, he says it was most definitely was a betrayal. I'm curious to hear why you think that, Matt, and please drop your comments below in the chat. I'll be curious. But guys, let's be real. DC, this is a soul-crushing place, right? Back in May, Dan went on Fox, and he got kind of emotional. He talked about staring at 4 walls in a DC apartment, separated from wife and family in Florida. He called it a sacrifice, and it was. There's a reason that the experts stay in those jobs for 30 years. It's because they have no soul to crush. But for a guy like Bongino, a guy who breathes the salt air of Florida and the fire of the airwaves, and let's be honest here, there's 120 people watching us live right now. I'll probably never touch the greatness of Dan Bongino or even approach a fraction of his audience. But I can tell you this is a great job. This is an unbelievable career. I mean, I'm so grateful and thankful every day that I get to do this. It is a privilege. Imagine being stuck in Washington, D.C. in these jobs. If you have a soul, D.C. is not a good place for you. It crushes people with consciences. The only people who make it that far in D.C. are people without these consciences. I'm sorry to say. It's just a fact. And I'm really curious to hear what our audience has to say about this. What do they think? Somebody decided to tip us this morning in Bitcoin. We don't get that very often. And thank you very much. We appreciate that. We're well on our way to unlocking the bonus content. St. Selma says, thanks for supporting Dan AP. I've always considered him a good guy. Yeah, I mean, just a little anecdote I can share with you. One time, Dan and I were giving a speech. I think we were on a panel together in LA, this conference they used to have called Politicon. And we were riding in the van on the way back from wherever the area was that we were giving the speech. And I had this, we maybe had 20 minutes together, and we had this really deep conversation. I was asking him all these questions about, his life as a Secret Service agent. And I haven't always been the best judge of character, I will admit. I've sometimes trusted people maybe that I shouldn't, but I really felt like Dan Bongino was one of the good ones, that he was trying to make a difference, which is why I was really pleased to see that he had gotten the title of VP. I got the impression that Dan Bongino had a soul. I got the impression that Dan Bongino was one of us. I gained a sense of respect for him that I just don't know that there's many people like Dan Bongino. I wish I kind of had a fraction of the integrity and the audience that Dan Bongino has on Rumble. Welcome to the Wake Up America Show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. He's too high energy. Drew, am I just the right amount of energy for you? I feel like I'm pretty high energy. It could just be that he didn't like the job. Very true, right? But I honestly think we need him back on Rumble. I think we need his voice back, right? Even if it's means that I'm going to lose some of you guys when he comes back. I think we need him telling the truth the way that he tells. I feel like we need him back here as a podcaster on Rumble, because I think Rumble honestly suffered a little bit with him being gone, and I think it'll be good for us. Some of you might watch his show instead of mine, and might not be good for me and Stephanie and Hazel and the For Liberty Shop and Brad and our little community necessarily to lose audience. But if we're going to lose audience, I'd rather lose it to Dan than anybody else. I got a lot of respect for the guy. I don't agree with everything he says, but there's so very few good people in the world. My experience has been those who leave the bowels of government are the ones who couldn't be compromised and assimilated into the corruption culture. Go Dan, says Real Science Question. Arvold24 says, AP is a terrible judge of character. I mean, he thinks I'm a bad guy. Womp womp. Oh, no. We need Dan back. Eminem says she picks me over Dan. Oh, Mel. So this is the part that the media is missing, though, because Bongino, he's not leaving a vacuum, right? Since September, he's been sharing this deputy role with Andrew Bailey. Now, if Bongino was a wrecking ball, Bailey is like a master architect. We all remember Andrew Bailey, Attorney General of the state of Missouri, right? He's the guy who led the fight against social media censorship. He's the guy who understands how to use the law as a weapon for liberty. Now, Bailey, he doesn't care about podcasts. He's not about like owning the libs on X, right? He cares about finality and prosecution. So by moving Bailey into the deputy role, the FBI is signaling a shift here, right? So we've had the exposure phase, and now we're moving into the accountability phase, right? And this is kind of a philosophical callback to Cincinnatus, who was the Roman statesman who was given absolute power to protect the republic. He did his job, and then he immediately resigned to go back to his farm. In the modern era, we're not used to that, right? We're used to bureaucrats who cling to power like barnacles, right? We should be celebrating the fact that a man like Bongino can go in, break some windows, kick over some tables, and then say, my work here is done. I'm going back to my life. And so was there friction with Pam Bondi? Absolutely. Is the Epstein list still a point of contention? You bet it is. But don't let the media tell you that this is a defeat, right? The FBI is a different place today than it was in January. The experts are scared. The careerists are fleeing. And Dan Bongino is coming back to a microphone near you on rumble.com. And now he's probably more dangerous. He's probably more dangerous now than he's ever been, because he's seen what's behind the curtain. And if he is a man of character, he's going to come out and he's going to spill some tea. So let's give it up for Dan Bongino. I will be applauding his return. Drew Van Runkle says, I only knew him from his Fox hits. I'm a one-show man. I won't be sleeping around on UAP. Oh. Drew. Kiss me. Amy says, I hope he lives up to our expectations. Me too. I don't usually have high expectations of people, so I normally keep my expectations low, but Dan's the person I make an exception for. Decision Point says, haircut on point, looking sharp, EP. Thank you. Yeah, I told my barber, I was like, you cut that part as deep as you can. So we start singing Erica. Jennifer says, so he's quitting instead of fighting. And Jenny Wise says, good morning. So Jennifer, she's a little, she's skeptical of the Dan Bongino departure. So, okay, guys. So we spend a lot of time on this show, rightfully so, tearing down the expert class, right? We mocked the bureaucrats over at the NCAR this morning and the hacks at the FBI because they've earned it. But I have to give you a word of caution today, because when you lose faith in the old gods of the deep state, you are vulnerable to the new gods of the timeline. And I'm talking about the panic peddlers, right? The people who sell you death and destruction and the World War III at 9 p.m. And then when 9 p.m. comes and without a single mushroom cloud, they just move on to the next grift without a single apology. Now, I'm probably about to lose 100 of the 134 people who are watching this show right now because what I'm about to talk about, but nonetheless, he persisted. World War III. We were told that we were going to have World War III. We were told that we were going to have a war with Venezuela. But did we have war with Venezuela last night? Who told us that we were going to have war with Venezuela last night? What happened?
Well, Steve, I first have to say I really appreciate the White House's ability to run an information operation on so much of social media, putting all this information out there, sort of these strategic leaks to make people think that this was going to be some kind of speech about Venezuela, to make them think there was going to be some sort of, attack going on. This is about to come down. When ultimately, many of us who have close sources to the White House, and I was at the White House earlier this afternoon, were told that it was going to be an end-of-year speech focusing on what the policies were that worked this year, announcing some new initiatives, and then a look ahead to next year. And that was always going to be and always meant to be the main thrust of the speech, and that's exactly what it was. But there was this clearly a disinformation information operation run, and I think a lot of people, I think, what did you say, Steve? They got some bad info. I think they're realizing that they got some bad info.
Yeah, they got some very bad info, but that didn't stop them from terrorizing. You see, the people, like Jennifer, please listen to me. There are a lot of people who claim to be on our side who love to terrify the shit out of people like us. They love to tell us, and they use war as the catalyst, right, to stir our emotions so that we will listen to them. Because what could be worse than war? War is terrifying. War is a wholesome, terrifying evil. And so it grabs your attention. And so we must listen, because if we don't pay attention to the calls for the war that is coming, then we are remiss. We are not doing our jobs as libertarians, right? If we are not listening to the people who are saying that there's going to be a war, and then a war breaks out, well, then shame on us to an extent, right? Shame on us for not listening to them. But what happens when the people who say that there are going to be a war are wrong? Do we look at them and say, oh, we just forget it, it's no big deal, or whatever? Or do we actually suggest that we should have a little bit of accountability for people when they make false or fraudulent claims, like, for example, this yesterday?
Is Trump going to start a war in Venezuela?
I don't know. I don't know when this program airs, the one that we're on right now. I think this may be live.
Well, we're live now, and then it'll be posted immediately. So now,
my sense is, I don't know the answer. I've certainly been on the phone a lot about it. I have no power. I'm a podcaster, but I'm very interested. And so here's what I know so far, which is that members of Congress were briefed yesterday that a war is coming, and it'll be announced in the address to the nation tonight at 9:00 by the president. Who knows, by the way, if that will actually happen? I don't know. And I never want to overstate what I know, which is pretty limited in general.
Okay, yeah, but pretty limited in general, I would say, is an understatement there, Tucker. So, I respect Tucker for his curiosity, right? He's asked a lot of important questions over the years, but he is clearly being fed some bad intel. And I actually think that he was the recipient of a trap that was laid by the president to try and find out who leaks. The president probably told certain people, that he was going to do one thing, and then told other people that he was going to do something else, so that when it was reported that there was going to be an attack on Venezuela, that he could find out who the leaker was. And if that's the case, Tucker just blew up his source right there by saying that, and knowing that it wasn't confirmed. Now, if I said to you now that there is going to be a war with China tonight, that there's going to be, I've heard that there's going to be, I don't know, but I've heard that there's going to be a nuclear strike on Columbus, Ohio tonight. Do you think, would you say that was responsible or irresponsible? I'm asking you a serious question now. Would it be responsible of me if I had heard from a source, an unconfirmed source, that there is going to be a nuclear attack on Columbus, Ohio tonight, okay, would that be responsible for me to report that if I didn't know that was true? What would you think of me? And what if I did it over and over and over, right? What if would you say that I was someone that you would believe over it? We're being manipulated by these people, and it's disgusting. And frankly, I find it to be a betrayal of our principles as libertarians. I mean, Tucker Carlson has never been a libertarian. He was always a warmongering neocon war hawk, and now he's completely changed his stripes to try and get along with people that he thinks are going to give him the biggest success in podcasting. He's not in pursuit of truth. He's in pursuit of influence. He's in pursuit of power. He said he was told by a member of Congress that President Trump was going to use his primetime address to announce a full-scale military conflict. And, you know, people, they fear this stuff. They're legitimately terrified. Now, some people who fear this stuff, they're addicted to porn. This is a form of pornography for them. And they get off on this. They absolutely do. They are addicted to fear. And I do think that, honestly, this is the heart of tyranny in this nation. This is the kind of speech, if I gave this to libertarians, they would scream, they would throw tomatoes at me. But I think a lot of the tyranny in this nation is because people are afraid. And what do people do when they're afraid? They call for government. They call for government to do something. They call for more government. They don't call for more liberty. They call for more government. When you're constantly keeping people whipped up in a state of fear, if you don't know that something is true and you're saying something like that, what is the point of it? What is the point of saying something if you don't know that it's true? If you're in this business, right? Why would I say something if I didn't think that it was true? If I didn't know for a fact, would I say something to you? Why? Right? So I can sell more coffee, so I can get more Rumble rants, so I can get more Bitcoin donations, right? Why would I do that? What would be the point? What? Because I'm playing on your fear, right? If I'm doing something like that, if I'm telling you a lie, right? It's because I hope, and why do I tell you something that you're going to be afraid of? Why do I use your emotions? Because if you understand how addicted people are to fear porn, if you don't watch the legacy media, and I certainly don't, if you don't watch the legacy media, you might not recognize just how much our fellow Americans are addicted to fear. They love fear. They will tell you all day long that they hate it, but they love it. If you watch the legacy media and watch most of the mainstream alternative media, you might call it. It's the mainstream media to me now, the internet. But if you play to people's fears and you constantly poke and prod them where they are afraid, their fear response will be to shower you with attention, shower you with money, shower you with power. There comes a time in every person's life, I'm just going to level with you guys. There comes a time in every podcaster's life. Somebody messaged me the other day. They're like, Austin, if you want to expand your audience, you're going to have to get into conflict. Conflict is one thing, right? I could go and find people to come on here and do battle with them rather than sort of like monologue so much. But there is a very clear path to success that involves lying to you. And what it is like, I just tell you what you want to hear. I tell you that the Federal Reserve is going to cause the dollar to collapse, and that the economy is going to be destroyed, and that there's going to be a war, and it's going to be World War III. And if I were to pound that every single day, I would lose half of you, but gain far more, a bigger audience. About 50% of you would probably leave me, but I would make a lot more money, and I would have a lot bigger audience. Now, what does it profit a man to gain the world if he should lose his soul? Right? I do have to sleep at night. And thank you to Joel Ledamore for helping keep us honest there with your Bitcoin donation. I have no idea what that amounts to in actual dollars. But it's very sad to be in my position, to be in a position where I know what it is that my audience wants to hear. And believe me, I look for red meat topics. I'm looking for things that I know you're going to really like and enjoy. But I also see stories and I see things popping up that I know you're not going to like. Like Jennifer, you're like an angel because I know you support us. You're a monthly donor to the Wake Up America show. And I really think that you deserve an unbelievable amount of credit because you'd listen to my show, even though I know you disagree with a lot of things that I say, especially lately. But I've been on the inside. I hung out, guess who do you think knows these two men better than the man that you're looking at right now? Who do you think knows these two men better? How many people do you think know those two men better than me? Name 5 people that know those two men better than I do. Okay. I mean, I want success, right? I would love to have 1,130 people watching the Wake Up America show, right? But what is the trade-off is the question that I have to ask. Everything when it comes to, whether it's the government or whether it's my personal life, people ask me my positions on politics. What do you think about, Trump doing this? What do you think about doing this? And at the end of it, you know what? I bring it all back to Thomas Sowell. What's the trade-off? So what do you think about Trump's war with Venezuela? Instead of doing like a knee-jerk reaction these days, instead of just saying, well, it would be unconstitutional and it would be immoral and it would be terrible, all these kinds of things, like a puppet, right? I could be a libertarian puppet. I could say what it is that the audience wants to hear. I could do that, right? If I had no soul, if I had no conscience, if I didn't have to look my daughter in the face as soon as this show is over, wake her up in the morning, she's going to go up there and say, Dad, and I'm going to, change her diaper and get her in her clothes and take her downstairs and try and be a good father to her. Right. Would I be able to look at her in the eyes fully, knowing that I lied to you constantly all the time, that I played on your fears, that I tried to terrify you, right? Or am I being a better man because I'm telling you the truth about what you're actually seeing, even no matter how bad it hurts, right? What does it matter? I wonder what your thoughts are on this. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Joel Lattimore tipped us in Bitcoin, and I have no idea what that amounts to. I think it's $10 in Bitcoin. Brad, did somebody do the math? Or maybe Joel just tell Brad so we can know how much we've got on the bonus content. Drew says, I come here for the positivity. I know there's in the world, but why go through life looking for the next bad thing? Yeah, Drew, you're in the right place, man. If you're looking for a positive, healthy, optimistic community, then you're in the right place. And Jennifer Halbein, she says, your show's great, Austin. I like to listen to many different opinions. I agree with her most things. I'll tell you, Jennifer, the truth, I think about you a lot. I honestly do, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm reading a news story and I'm going to report on it. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, Jennifer is not going to like this. She is going to be so mad at me when I say this. I'm like, how many audience members am I going to lose today? It was like 16-15 from what I looked up, says L-Dubs. Thank you, brother. Thank you. We're almost on the bonus content today, guys. Can we raise phase 1? I know that the holidays are out and taxes are due, and it's hard to open up the wallets. But if you do have cryptocurrency, you can tip the show in cryptocurrency. Help to keep the Wake Up America show going strong and live. I'm looking here, and this is for like the insiders of insiders. I have a 2026 master battle plan for Stonegate Pictures LLC. I want to scale this business to $500,000 in annual revenue. When I want to be a libertarian Daily Wire. The core engine of this network is the Wake Up America show. I'm going to have a strategic shift from passive selling to active hunting. And I want to talk about this plan with you a little bit before I even lay it out to my one staffer and my wife, who is my part-time staffer. Melly B says, have a great day, everyone. Thanks, AP, for the good show. I'll be back to watch again. Melly, we love you. We can't wait to see you again. I'll see you tomorrow morning, hopefully. Oh, tomorrow's a special day, Melly. We're going to have my brother, Justin Peterson, on. And because you have the castle next to your name, you're going to be eligible to watch the exclusive paywalled members-only content on tomorrow morning's shows. We call it Freedom Family Friday, so I hope you don't miss it. So next year, the 2026 Master Battle Plan, Stonegate Pictures. I have been making grievous errors since I started this network, or this show, and subsequently launched a network a couple of years ago. Thank God for artificial intelligence, because AI has shown the holes in my battle plan. And Jennifer, if you've missed the AI course, you're a member of my AI class that I teach. It's a very exclusive small group of people who I train on how to use AI. Don't miss the course where I talked about agent searches, Jennifer. And last week I did a really good lesson as well on it. But AI, I did a talk where AI can show you holes in your strategy or things that you don't know. So now I'm really going to piss people off. But I learned a lot from Donald Rumsfeld, where he talks about known knowns and known unknowns, and then unknown unknowns, which is, things that you don't know. And thank God for artificial intelligence. I have learned some things that I didn't know about my business. And one of the mistakes that I've made is that I'm good at acquiring new customers, but I'm bad at keeping them. But when I say bad at keeping them, it's just simply that I have not done the right things in order to keep people coming back to the Wake Up America show, or keep them watching the Wake Up America show, or keep them purchasing from the shop. So, AI had assessed my strategy and said, hey, Austin, you need to lock the back door. You need to bring subscribers into the show and you need to keep them. So we have got a strategy to lock the back door, to bring people like Jennifer Hoffman in and turn her, from a monthly supporter to a Peterson's Patriot $17.76 a monther. Jennifer, you'll be getting a call soon. And she's a big supporter, and we're very grateful. She says that she loves the AI course, but she needs to get caught up. If anyone else is interested, I do teach a weekly class on AI. We will be out next week and the week after, but I will be doing office hours again tomorrow, Thursday. Melly B, we can't wait to see you again. But if you're interested in that AI course, it is over at forlibertyshop.com. And it is very inexpensive for what you get. Weekly seminars, private seminars from me, tutoring, live tutoring and courses, and a whole curriculum that's already been written. If you're interested in it, go take a look over at forlibertyshop.com. It's this Unlock AI Mastery, Create Daily Content Like a Pro. You just click the Enroll Now button, read all about what we have to offer, and it's $150 for the course. And if you want, you can go in and you can download everything that I've created so far, and you can then cancel your subscription if you want. But if you want to stay in the course and stick to our weekly schedules, then it's a $50 a month subscription. And honestly, $50 a month to save hours and hours of your time. So I'll give you a little sneak preview, guys. Here's the thing about it. So I was using ChatGPT to write this show, to put everything together. And I was working, guys, until 8 or 9 o'clock at night some nights, right? I get home from karate and on Wednesday nights, and I'm working until like 10 or 11 p.m. sometimes, right? Because the AI that I was using was slow. ChatGPT has become sort of a cluster, right? So I switched to a new AI, and it has saved me 3 hours a day. 3 hours a day that I'm just getting to play with my daughter and spending time in the evenings. An unbelievable amount of workload that has been taken off of my plate just because I switched to one task to different AI. And those are the kinds of tips and tricks and things that you'll find. Which AI was it? Well, you got to join the course. Head over to forlibertyshop.com. Amy, if you've been thinking about doing it, give it a try for a month. And if you don't find you get the value out of it, you can just cancel. It's no big deal. But if you're finding some value in it and you like the tutoring courses, then maybe you'll stick around in it. We'd be very grateful. Joni has taken off. Joni, we'll miss you. Thank you. Decision says the oil companies just want their oil fields back, and there's lots of money to be shared. Hopefully we can clean house this midtime. Well, yeah, the oil companies are capitalist enterprises, and they want their oil fields back. And I honestly don't blame them for wanting their oil fields back. And anybody who drives a car should probably want them to have their oil fields back. This whole war for oil thing, I mean, in part, it's sort of a leftist framework of the reasons for war. But it's also a little bit of a misunderstanding of the capitalist system, like the war with Iran, for example, and the 1979 revolution from Operation Ajax and things like that. We should have a deeper discussion about that decision point. So I don't want to get into it right now, but I definitely would love to have that discussion with you. BB for Liberty, Brad Beckman says, sign up for our AI course and cut countless hours off your workload. Amy says she knows so little about AI, not sure how I'd use it. Well, that is actually why it's a good reason to join the class, because I can show you how you can use it for your tasks. So tomorrow is Thursday, and I'm going to do office hours, which means that instead of a specific AI training tomorrow, I will be tutoring. So I have an hour class that I'll be setting up for tomorrow. So Brad says he uses it for genuinely everything. He owns his own business. It's his advisor, his marketing specialist, his graphic designer, engineering tech, and his accountant. Yes, ours too. Well, and Stephanie is doing a great job of that as well. Thank you so much for tuning into the Wake Up America show this morning. It's nice to see a little bit bigger audience than we're used to. I know 134 people doesn't sound like a lot, but that, if you think about that, that would not fit in the mud closet that the mud room that I'm streaming this show live from here. But thank you very much to everyone who's joined us live this morning. I got something in my eye. Thank you. So, Trump, the Venezuela thing, I will end on this note. I'll say, Trump is a showman, right? He wants Maduro to think that a war is coming. He wants the leakers to think that he is unhinged. But we have to be smarter than the headlines. You have to be smarter than the podcasters, present company included, right? If somebody's telling you that the world is ending tonight, then what are they selling you? Right? It's check their shop link, right? Are they selling you the truth, or are they selling you a bunker, right? Are they selling you a bug out bag? Are they selling you a freedom survival pack food, right? Are they selling you something that's going to make your life better, right? Are they actually giving you the truth, right? We need a return to intellectual honesty. We need the new media to be held to the same standard that we hold the old media to, right? If you're wrong about a war declaration, you don't just get to post through it, right? You owe the audience an explanation. Here's a funny story. There's this Groyper, famous, racist kid who got the shit slapped out of him the other day at an event in New York City. And he lost his audience right away. He was held accountable. He got slapped in the face and walked away. And, he makes a whole career out of himself. Let's see. He makes a career out of being this big, strong, racist guy talking shit about women, right? Which is, that's my job, by the way. But but he makes this career out of being a tough guy, right? So it's like me, painting myself out, to be a karate sensei. And then you watch me doing karate and stuff. You're like, that guy, he can't kick, he can't punch, he can't fight. I think I can find the video here. Hold on. This kid getting slapped. Let's see. What's his name? Is this no, that's the picture. Where's the video? I'm sorry to do this with you guys live. I didn't know that I was going to talk about this, but it's a difference between, people who talk a big game, who talk about being tough, who talk about World War III. But then when you get them on the street and you see what they're actually about, hold on, this is woman propaganda guy, right? Hold on, here we go. Here we go. This is it. The infamous slap. So here's the guy. He's 5'1", right? And again, his whole persona online is being this online tough guy, right?
You invited him to your fucking club. You gave him a ticket to the fucking club. Whoa. Okay, let's get the fuck out of here.
Run, man. You better run, squirrel. Now imagine getting the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Imagine getting slapped by a man like that. Hold on. There we go. Hold on. Getting slapped in the face. Boom. There goes your whole racist, masculine persona right there. Walking away. Who's all talk? And who actually is a real karate man like Dan Bongino and me? You're the best around. He's 5'1" and ran away from a guy who's 5'2", says Booty Sweat. I know. I was laughing so hard. Man slap. So this is a classic canary trap, right? This situation that Tucker Carlson was engaged in, right? So Tucker was the canary, right? He was the canary in somebody else's trap. So Trump wanted Maduro to think that a war was coming. And he used Tucker either willingly or perhaps unwillingly, to spread the message that there was going to be a war with Venezuela, because Trump doesn't really want a war with Venezuela, but he wants them to think that there's a war with Venezuela. And this is my lesson for my fellow libertarians, the ones who are very anti-war, is that if you don't want war, then you need to ensure that people think that you are going to go to war. Sivi pacem para bellum. If you want peace, prepare for war, right? If you build a stockpile, it's the same reason why I'm literally surrounded by rifles and ammunition right here. I'm bristling with guns. It's not because I want to go to war. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't like hurting, but I don't like hurting animals. I enjoy some hunting, but like bigger animals, like it kind of breaks my heart seeing them die. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy seeing people hurting. I don't get off on it, right? But I love karate. I love martial arts. I love, combat sports, and I love training for combat. But it's because I never want to have to do it, because I don't want to be, I don't want to end up a victim at Bondi Beach, because I don't want to die. I don't want to get slapped in the face by some fat, Italian 5'2" guy in New York City. I don't want to be this racist 5'1" kid, get slapped in the face and not be able to do anything about it. Didn't even see it coming. The guy gets up in his face, boom, gives him a slap. Now, the guy who slapped him, slaps him. That guy's been in a fight before. You know why? Because when he slapped him, when he provoked him, bam, here comes the face slap, boom, right back here, boom. And he takes 2-3 steps back in case the guy wants to come for him so that he has time to get his hands up and to do his business. Sivi pacem para bellum. Trump is very smart. Trump doesn't want war. Look, here he is talking to Nick Fuentes. A guy just slapped me in the face. Oh, my God. Fake tough guys. It's fake. It's performative. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in war. You have to understand what Trump wants to do. He wants them to be afraid of him. You should want people to be afraid of you, right? Not because you necessarily want people to be afraid, but because if they are afraid of you, then they're not going to mess with you, right? It's better to be feared than loved. That is true, because you know what? One thing I have learned about love is that love is fickle. People will love you one day, they'll hate you the next. But when people are afraid of you, they ain't going to mess with you. They won't. Bow to your sensei, says LW78. Bow to your sensei.
Why are you gay?
Oops, wrong thing. Wrong button. We've got Gabby Hoffman here coming in live in a little bit less than 10 minutes. Do you guys want to see the bonus content? We did a Lego recreation of the Bondi Beach thing. I want to unlock the bonus content, guys. Here's what we need to do in order to do it. We either need to convince Amy J. Ease to sign up for the AI course, Amy, or we need to sell. You know what we need to do? We just need to sell one gift pack of Founding Flavors coffee. Have you guys seen that we've been doing a lot of new bundles over at forlibertyshop.com? I want to see you guys pop up on my little map. Where are you from? Where in the world is all my people on the show? If you go to forlibertyshop.com, you guys will pop up on my little map of the globe here. Let's take a look. Let's see where everybody's at. Right now we have 4 visitors on the site, and it looks like they're down there in Texas. So this is probably Kenny Webster and the guys down in Texas, their radio show. They're pumping their merch collection. And then we have somebody in Tennessee this morning who's visiting forlibertyshop.com, and we can see in the world where people are clicking over onto the shop. So let's do it right now. Everybody head over to forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4, libertyshop.com. You'll pop up on my little map, and then head on over to the coffee page where we have our coffee bundles and the AP for Liberty's picks. We've also got New Year's Eve party drinkware. So if you're into a patriotic celebration for the New Year's, Then Brad made a bunch of bundles for the barware as well. Barware. Oops. There we go. Okay, so if you go over to forlibertyshop.com and you click barware right there, sorry, it has to be after the holidays. Won't have time until after January 1st. Makes sense, Amy. Thank you. We've got a man cave bar bundle right now where you can get this whole bar bundle, untaxed whiskey, liberal tears, make taxation theft again, koozie. We've also got the Whiskey Lovers Liberty bundle over on Barware and the Liberty Lovers Party Starter bundle. So taxes are gay, koozie, very funny. Our barware are all available. The Less Government, More Beer Stein. We sold one of those the other day. Those are really in vogue. Pepe, the Crusader Knight whiskey glass. Our John Adams stained glass whiskey barware. We have a whole Founding Fathers theme of stained glass theme for some of our barware. But if you head over to the Liberty shop and check out the barware page, you can see all of our beautiful koozies, mugs, frosted glasses, and of course, check out the amazing bundles that we've created at the top of the page at forlibertyshop.com. If we sell one barware bundle or one bundle of Founding Flavors coffee, then that will unlock the bonus content, which we will play. Here's the deal. So the bonus content's a little long today. It's about the Bondi Beach shootings. And so we probably won't have time to play it now. But if we unlock it in the next minute, I will play it first before we get Gabby Hoffman to talk about how the United Nations is coming for the Okefenokee Swamp in Georgia. Don't let them have it. We'll be right back. It's the Wake Up America show, and you're watching the For Liberty Network. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
And what is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways?
When the Founding Fathers dreamed of liberty, they forgot one thing: coffee. Introducing Founding Flavors Coffee, the brew that built America, and the brew that's fueling a new revolution, one kitchen at a time. Small batch roasted.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. We're glad and thankful to have you here. I love having a nice size audience today. I'm so grateful to have you here. Must be a lot of new people. If today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, we hope you'll come back and join us. Click the follow button over on Rumble, and that will give you a notification when we go live. This show is live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. So click that follow button and come back and join us if you love liberty. My next guest loves liberty. She's going to talk to us a little bit about a big story that you might have missed while you were distracted by all the con games happening about going to war with Venezuela. Didn't happen. Let's talk about something that might happen if we don't step in and stop it, though. That for decades, the Okefenokee Swamp in South Georgia was just a quiet 400,000 acre marvel of American nature. But under the Biden-Harris administration, it became a pawn in a globalist game. So they nominated the American treasure for a UNESCO World Heritage designation. Now, the proponents of this move are going to tell you that this is just a 5-star Yelp review for the swamp, right? They're going to say it brings prestige and tourism dollars, but we know how the UN works, right? A UNESCO label isn't just a plaque on a wall. This is a foot in the door for international bureaucrats to dictate what Americans could do on American soil. So we're talking about buffer zones that could effectively lock up private land, ban hunting, and kill local industry through soft power treaties. Joining us now is a woman who went to Georgia to get the truth. She's an award-winning outdoor journalist, the director of the Center for Energy and Conservation at the Independent Women's Forum, host of the District of Conservation podcast. She's also the daughter of Lithuanian parents who escaped the Soviet Union. She knows exactly what it looks like when the state tries to seize control. Please welcome to the show my good friend, Gabby Hoffman. Good morning, Gabby.
Austin, so great to rejoin the program after a long dry spell. This is such an important topic. Happy to break it down with you today.
Yeah, when we went to Japan, Steffi and I, we were driving by this castle, the Himeji Castle, and we were really excited to see it. We didn't have time in our trip, but it was a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And if you don't think about it, you're like, oh, it's like a certified stamped seal of approval of like a global important place. Who wouldn't want to have that? A place in the United States. Don't we want the UN to sign off on our swamps, Gabby? It's just a swamp anyway, right? Why is this story so important? And what is this story?
There are several reasons as to why this is extremely important, the continued American control over Okefenokee Swamp. So a little context, Austin, for your listeners. There are already 26 UNESCO sites in the United States, many of them national parks. So Yellowstone is this. Everglades National Park in Florida also has this protection. And this has been something that some environmentalists in Georgia, not in the Okefenokee Swamp region itself, but people kind of coming from the outside, preying on these people saying, we know it's better for you, even if they're not from that part of Georgia. For like I think since the 80s, they have been eyeing Okefenokee as the next UNESCO World Heritage Site. And it's concerning for several reasons. The reason why it's newsworthy, and I think more and more people besides your show will continue to highlight it, is because the Trump administration once again exited from UNESCO and most UN bodies. They haven't exited from the UNESCO World Heritage Convention. They still have to do that. That's one little missing piece, but they've largely exited from UNESCO, citing all the sustainable development climate goals and other kind of DEI, ESG components to the UN. And the UN, through their UN sustainable goals, has said, like, we're going to protect cultural heritage sites under the guise of fighting climate change. And as we have talked about privately, Austin, I think most of the country and even European allies and friends are realizing that basing your energy policy on climate jargon does not work. It's very expensive. It doesn't help the environment either. So this is a holdover from the UN, but also Biden era, as you mentioned before. And what's at stake, as you mentioned, is a loss of commercial activities. That's the minor part of it, but it's also a loss of American sovereignty, because once you have the UN come here, the proponents said, oh, no, it's just like you said, a 5-star Yelp review. It is not. I cited in my town hall column that expanded from my conservation country, a report with Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow with CFAC, is that this is being done in Africa, and New York Times of all places said that you cannot manage your house. You can't remodel your house. Something as simple as that. If you live near a UNESCO World Heritage Site, you can't make improvements. You can't do this. You need permission from the UN monitors. You need all this oversight just to improve your house, even if you're not within the UNESCO region itself. But if you're nearby, good luck controlling and remodeling your house, for instance.
So, Gabby, talk to us a little bit about the citizens of these counties, Charlton, Ware, and Clinch counties.
Yes.
The people who live there, they don't want it.
No. All the 3 counties that sit on the swamp have, I spoke to a good number, a lot of the leading activists, but when it was put to a vote, let's say in Ware County, for instance, they had a ballot initiative in the 2024 primaries. They found that over 70% of locals did not want this. If you look to the resolution of disapproval, how did all the 3 counties bordering the swamp on the swamp vote? They overwhelmingly said no. The locals said no. And funny enough, UNESCO's like, well, if we find out that there's overwhelming opposition to this bid, we might even pull back. You can't necessarily hold them to their word, but they might be freaked out by the building opposition to the UNESCO designation in Okefenokee Swamp. And it is kind of my intention with the report going to Georgia was to spotlight this and perhaps like put it on the admin's radar. And I think they'll want to see this bid be withdrawn, although I've heard some back chatter that some of the proponents are going to Department of Interior to try to lobby Doug Burgum to please keep this holdover from Biden admin. I haven't heard Burgum say one thing one way or another. I think they're still stewing over it, but this is Trump country. These 3 counties that are opposing this overwhelmingly voted for the president to win re-election. They would probably see it not as a sign of betrayal, but they would be very disappointed if he were to keep it, because they were assured that, he would, fully get out of UN entities and bodies like this. And I think he will. And especially one of the interviewees that I spoke to was confident that once this is put on the president's radar, that he will swiftly put a stop to this, put a kibosh to this. And that's to be expected. But of course, the admin can only address so many issues, as you know, Austin. It's incumbent on, like journalists and reporters and hosts like you and me to put these stories on people's radars. But yeah, the locals don't want this, and the locals' perspective should be respected in this, especially in this case, especially with an international body like the UN with a very blemished track record that does not respect human rights, that labels the United States a human rights violator. We should not be telling them to dictate to us, how do we do conservation? How do we do management? They have no authority and no understanding of this whatsoever.
This is such good stuff, Gabby, and I'm so grateful that you're here with us to tell us about it, because I don't hear a lot of people reporting on this. And, a lot of our people who watch the Wake Up America show, they are not fans of the United Nations. And some of them do live in Georgia. So I hope that if they're not paying attention to this, that this is going to help get this on their radar. Now, here's what they say. They call this the Yelp review, right? So the proponents of this designation, they claim that, well, this is just like a 5-star Yelp review. This is just the international community weighing in. It's just prestige, right? There's no legal teeth on this. But based into your research on these UNESCO buffer zones, is that an honest assessment, or is this a regulatory Trojan horse?
I believe it's the latter, going off of my report, Austin. And Yelp reviews, as anyone knows, can be twisted, contorted. There could be malicious campaigns. They could be done by nefarious actors to make things look really good. Or you can see the opposite, where a campaign could be waged to make a business sound bad. You know, a lot of, we saw this, the weaponization of Yelp reviews, for instance, if we're going off of this COVID time, you know, with cancellation and all this. And so Yelp reviews are very subjective, and you can't necessarily trust those. And that's the same with UNESCO World Heritage Sites. And another one of the people we spoke to who did extensive research, he looked at the U.S. Geological, not U.S. Geological Survey, I'm sorry. He looked at one of the Department of Interior, which is also GLS, is in that neighborhood and family. But he looked at Department of Interior records with UN designated sites like Yellowstone, Everglades, etc. So these were already popular visitor sites. Like Yellowstone is one of the busiest, most visited national parks, although Great Smoky Mountains, I don't recall if they're UNESCO designated. I don't think so. But America's most popular national parks and public land sites were already popular before UNESCO came in. So UNESCO kind of seized upon the popularity of a lot of these places. And one of the interviewees I spoke to had found that visitation really did not increase. And in some places of those listed under the World Heritage List, they decreased actually since they had these designations. So claiming that this sort of Yelp review or this endorsement by the UN or UNESCO will lead to more visitation is not necessarily foolproof or accurate, because in my report, you'll see in the Conservation Country Report that he had different charts and maps that he printed out using the data from the government readily available of these UNESCO World Heritage Sites already here in the United States, and found that it did not lead to improved tourism. And around the world, actually, Austin, for you and your listeners to be aware of, this creates even more conflicts, especially in third world countries, authoritarian dictatorships, where a lot of these countries that want publicity in a positive manner will say, okay, we'll take this to curry favor with like China, Russia, you know, this could be China or Russia or Iran even getting these World Heritage UNESCO sites. And they could do it to whitewash their crimes, their blatant violations against human rights, and things of that sort. So a lot of adversarial nations will say, okay, we're going to be nominated. Let's use this to whitewash our public image, even though we have a history of depriving people of rights. We're totalitarian, communist, or fascist, whatever. We commit genocide, we commit famine, we're destroying the environment. So a lot of these kind of rogue third world nations, if you're looking from a global perspective, will use this to curry favor in the international community. And one of the first people I spoke to, who's a county commissioner, he said that it would be China, Russia, Venezuela, and Iran deciding what would be happening in a place like Okefenokee. So do we really want these countries that don't like us, that are against us, they're anti-capitalist, they're anti-free market, anti-human rights, telling us how to manage Okefenokee Swamp? No.
Gabby, you're amazing. You've done so much work on this. There are very few people who go this deep on these stories. And you are a true American patriot for doing this. We're so grateful to you. So tell us a little bit more about your reporting here, because you actually interviewed local commissioners. And these guys are terrified that once this UN seal is on the swamp, that they're going to have restricted hunting rights, restricted logging rights. There might be herbiciding on private land outside of the refuge. So talk us through this process. How does a non-binding UN status eventually turn into a binding local zoning nightmare?
It could easily do that. And as listeners of yours know, we don't have a formal treaty with UNESCO. Congress has never, or the Senate, has never ratified. We never ratified the Paris Climate Accords. So that was never a legally binding agreement for us to abide by. So former President Biden put us into that without any explicit ratification. And it's a very unpopular thing 10 years now with the Paris Climate Accords. It's lost its luster. It never really was a thing, and people don't like it. And similar with UNESCO, we don't have a Senate ratified treaty saying that we have to abide by everything UNESCO does. And again, the Trump admin withdrew us again from UNESCO in the summer. We're formally exiting by December 31st of 2026. I wish it would be a little sooner, but I guess this is how these things proceed. But the State Department, Department of Interior, everyone has said, we don't want to be in UNESCO for this reason because of nefarious behavior of UNESCO. We can't trust them. In countries where they try to go to, they adopt really bad policies. And like I said, they give license to these rogue countries who don't like the United States, who do not like the Western way of life, who are opponents of freedom and liberty, dictating to America, who is probably the best environmental conservation steward out there. The people in Georgia and all over the country know how to best manage public lands, where public lands and private lands meet especially, and even public lands too. So we don't want these people who have a poor track record, environmentally speaking, financially speaking, telling Americans and the best managers, those closest to Okefenokee, should have the ultimate say over what and how it should be managed. And as the interviewees alluded to, there's already so many bureaucratic layers to managing Okefenokee Swamp. And now you're adding this fourth unenforceable layer from the UN, which has no jurisdiction over us. Again, there's no formal treaty with many of these UN agreements. They can't come in and tell us what to do. We already have American laws, we have state laws, and we have federal laws as it relates to national wildlife refuges. And Okefenokee right now, as it's understood, has to be managed to allow for hunting, fishing activities, multiple use management, forestry, and some other adjacent activities. Some of the people who are like, well, these people are so grievanced and they're doing this so that they could have a mine in the region. And the mine is an afterthought. Like, there have been some discussions about a mining project and maybe that'll come back, but that's a minor piece to this overall puzzle. They always say this to say, like, well, there's no legitimacy to this, therefore we need to convert the swamp into a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is totally a contorting of what the story is. And that's not how it should be reduced. But this is what environmentalists, preservationists, and UN proponents typically do. They dismiss the concerns of locals. They say they're paranoid. They don't understand what's going on. These activists are extremely well researched. They took words from the UN themselves about what this will entail. And again, back to the UN sustainable goals, the 17 sustainable goals, which say that the UN will exert more control over the areas that it seeks to govern through a UNESCO World Heritage Site, through the Paris Climate Accords, through all these little different agreements and compacts. So this is what people have to worry about. And let's say in a couple of years, this is post-Trump administration, some other admin comes in, a Democrat, hypothetically speaking, they could get the United States officially in a treaty with UNESCO and make this permanent. And that would be a travesty. And so you have to see permanent changes made now. Congress, I'm not sure, is up to the task of doing this, preventing this, but we could see Department of Interior prevent this from proceeding. They have the Secretary of Interior, Doug Burgum, has the ability to formally withdraw this bid. The state of Georgia can enact some laws. That's what the interviewees told us, to prevent, let's say, any international body coming in and subverting and usurping state control. Different states, I think Kansas is one of them, a couple others have passed laws to say that the UN cannot come to said state and dictate to us the affairs of the state. I mean, we might see that happening at the federal level too. But we have with executive orders. We have not seen it with Congress successfully so far. So that's essentially what's at stake, because none of these changes are permanent unless you get it signed in ink from the governor or even from the president to prevent the UN from usurping control here. So this is kind of like a canary in the coal mine situation, Austin.
Yeah, it certainly is, Gabby. And I'm really thankful that you've done so much work on this. And, we definitely want to see the Department of the Interior rejecting this. Secretary Burgum needs to take action right now and ensure that the Okefenokee Swamp stays under American and not international control. Gabby, you pretty much laid it out. Is there anything about this story that you think that we have missed? Any important details, things that our audience needs to know, or maybe some action that they can take? Is there anything that we can do to help this along?
I believe the best thing you could do is write the secretary, maybe social media post in a respectful way. I think he's in alignment and he doesn't want to see UNESCO creep into our backyard further. They just have a lot on their plate, from my understanding. But your listeners, even if they don't live in Georgia, if they're very concerned about this, maybe they have an attachment to the swamp, they vacation there, they can just say, hey, this is a story you're missing that's slipping under the radar. Please put attention to this, because they do react to social media. The Trump administration, they're very social media clued in. So yeah, put it out there, send an email respectfully, of course, saying like, hey, this is something that deserves attention. You can link to our report. And we'd be more than grateful for any additional sharing of our report there. But the motions are there, and I think they will pay attention to this, especially as a potential vote or as early as next summer could happen. So a withdrawal process would ideally need to take place before next summer if a vote were to take place. We keep hearing chatter from the folks I'm still in touch with. My sources have said that the UN is hosting listening sessions in the Okefenokee area. They're going there, they're inspecting, and maybe because of the widespread opposition, that they are maybe getting a little scared about this bid proceeding. So I think more publicity, more awareness, share the report, share our interview today that we're doing, Austin. I think your listeners can do that to get more visibility, and you know how to garner attraction. So I'm hoping this could help topple the dominoes even further. But just share anything that we have put out, our conversation today, and tag the admin and say, like, you guys have gotten out of UN, here's something you've missed. And I think this would be a win-win situation. Nobody wants to see a place like Okefenokee Swamp under UN control. And they sidestep so many different things. If you want something to be preserved for, off-limit activities, you have to go through different processes in the Department of Interior kind of thing. You have to make something a national park, ideally. And Okefenokee is not yet ready to be a national park. And I love national parks, but national parks come with various different restrictions. You can't hunt, and sometimes you can't even fish. So I think the locals don't want to see that.
Absolutely, Gabby. Not the kind of thing that we want here in our country. I've linked to your report, your Substack. I just dropped it down into the chat. People are cutting clips from the show already of your conversation. So looks like mission accomplished and getting the word out over here, Gabby. These are your people. This is your audience. And thank you for coming to us with this story. We hope you have a happy Hanukkah and a wonderful
Merry Christmas too.
Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year and all of the things, Gabby. Thank you so much. And tell Joe we said hi. We miss you. We miss you guys very much.
Oh, thank you, Austin. Thank you so much for highlighting this, and Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy New Year, everyone.
There we go. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year. But that's Gabby Hoffman. She's wonderful. And I'm so grateful that she joined us here on the Wake Up America show today. Make sure you read her Substack over there and share it and send a nice, respectful comment to the Secretary of Interior, Doug Burgum. This is what we do. We're freedom fighters, baby. Aren't we? Thank you so much for tuning into the Wake Up America show today. We even made a new friend, Melly B. I think she had to leave earlier, but she wrote over in the comments. She says, thank you. Can't wait to watch every day. Happy finally to find a comfortable political show I can get behind. And Golden Girls, I think, was the show that song was from. Thank you for being a friend. Yes. Get it out there, Amy J. Thank you, BB for Liberty. You and I have a mystery to solve today, don't we? T-Mill22, thanks for cutting the clip. Thank you, Booty Sweat. Thank you, not the booty sweat that I have, but the booty sweat that I don't have. Decision Points. Appreciate you, bud. Thank you for being here. Drew Van Runkle. In Jam 77. Quest Fanning. Hope you had a great birthday yesterday, man. Luke Sacker and Drew Van Runkle and everybody else. I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in today. If you enjoy the show, make sure you click the like button before you leave. And if today's your first time watching, which I know for many of you it probably was, click the follow button as well. Come back again tomorrow morning. We've got a great show for you. It's Freedom Family Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Freedom Family Friday is fun. I bring my smoking hot wife, my brother from Boston. We'll all be here tomorrow morning, goofing around, having a great day, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye, guys.
Founding fathers dreamed of liberty, They forgot one thing: coffee. Introducing Founding Flavors Coffee, the brew that built America, and the brew that's fueling a new revolution, one kitchen at a time. Small batch roasted, Patriot approved, and disappearing faster than a red coat at Yorktown. Don't get left behind, soldier. Real patriots are starting their mornings with Founding Flavors. And trust us, freedom tastes better with a fresh cup in your hand. Stop drinking those tyrant brews who take your money and don't support your values. Stocks are limited, demand is booming, and your morning deserves a taste of liberty. Order now at forlibertyshop.com before the next shipment gets signed, sealed, and sold out. Founding Flavors Coffee, the official brew of morning rebellions everywhere. Get yours at forlibertyshop.com.